What do Cleveland Browns fans and my ex-wife have in common? Find out today on What the Elf Was That?
You're listening to the What the Elf Was That podcast, an iconoclastic look at the latest Cleveland Browns news. The What the Elf Was That podcast is part of the Fanatical Elves podcast network, a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Here's your host, Joel Cade.
What the Elf Was That? Welcome back to another show. Got with me today, John Suchan. Say hi, John. I think he's frozen on me. You start this whole thing and then the guy freezes on you. Say hi, John.
How is everybody tonight?
Oh, there we go. All right. So today we thought we'd pick on John Suchan's favorite topic, Randy Gurzy. John, why do you hate Randy Gurzy? I want to know.
Man, wow, that came out of left field. Randy, I do not hate you. Wherever you're listening to this.
They're no fun.
Randy,
You're supposed to come out with
no,
something.
I
man.
know. Why do I hate Randy Gurzy? Randy Gurzy. Well, let's see.
So Randy Gurzy is the site expert for Dog Pound Daily. John and I both write for Dog Pound Daily, and it's just been a kind of fun thing to watch Randy and John go at it on chat messages. So I just want to know why. Well, my next question is, why do you hate Kevin Stefanski? But I'm not getting there yet. So
Now, I wrote a really good piece about Kevin Stefanski a couple weeks ago for Northeastern Sports Insiders, and talked just about how, you know, the consistency, or at least that continuity that the Browns have now brought in with him going into year 4 is something unusual for us Browns fans. And so I don't think we quite know how to handle it, but
yeah. With all that continuity, you're going to have good seasons, bad seasons.
That's right.
It's just, the thing is just to keep on the same thing. So on today's show, we're going to talk about the new Browns logo, the interesting news with Perrion Winfrey, and of course we have the Ravens hate, and we're going to have to figure out what the Borg are up to next. And one of the reasons why I brought John on was because John was very interested in one of the topics from last week, so I've got to let him have his piece. He tried to talk about it with some other people, and I think they just weren't listening, so now we've got to give him a real chance. So the Browns have unveiled a new logo. Have you seen the new logo, John?
Yes.
And what did you think of the new logo?
Cool. There are some things added to it that, you know, you had to do like a second and third take. And I know that the Cleveland Browns have come out with a description of what all those things are. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching, you can see the logo. It's now up. But go ahead, keep going, John.
No, it's interesting that all these things are there. The fact that we invest so much time as an organization to come up with a new logo and want to make sure that all these things that we see here, if you're watching this on wherever, are described in detail. I just think it's funny that we go to all these great lengths. It's cool. It's a dog. We are the dog pound. So I don't care what. I mean, I know there were some finalists. They were showing some other candidates before they picked this one.
There are a couple that looked like they had rabies, man. I mean, I thought like, oh my gosh, like go get that dog a shot.
I mean, the Ohio thing, like, okay, so like in the corner there, you see the dog in the ear. Well, if you look at the logo itself, it's not as, I don't think, as crisp as it's showing there. I think, like, okay, so like the helmet stripe. Oh, okay, wow, okay, that's like.
Well, let's go over what's on the logo first.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a helmet stripe, and it's this stripe down the front of the dog head, right? A nod to the iconic feature. The logo features a center stripe that adorns the classic Browns helmet. So there's this little stripe on the helmet, on the dog. Then there's the pound helmet. Okay, I don't even understand what this is.
Right.
As another nod to the original 1980s dog pound, the iconic maskless helmet shell worn by Browns faithful at games is hidden on the top right highlight. mean, is that like one of those construction hat things?
No, I think it's like the iconic, maybe back in the day, and that when they started out with the Dog Pound, some fans would wear those helmets that were like without the stuff in the front. They as a fashion statement.
Somebody's going to have to show me a picture.
That's a stretch. I don't get this.
I don't even understand how that looks like a helmet shell anyway. So, I guess I could see it. Like on the right top is the front, and the bottom left is like the ear part. Okay, I can see that. Okay. The Guardian Bridge, Cleveland's Hope Memorial Bridge, makes up the space below the jowls, fortifying the bond between fans, team, and city. Okay, I don't know much about dog terminology, so I don't know what a jowl is. But this thing is like around its mouth. Like, if you don't point that out, I don't see that.
Not on the original. Like, I mean, they've got everything broken up here nicely that we can see, but on the actual photo of the new logo, it's like, really? Like, where is that?
Okay.
I don't get, okay, Guardian Bridge.
Then there's spikes. The collar features 8 spikes, evoking intensity in their form and tradition in number, with the Browns finishing champions 8 times in their history. So there are 8 spikes for 8 Browns championships. Then there's a guitar pick. At the center of the tag lies a guitar pick as a nod to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It just gets better. You ready, John?
Yeah.
On the outline of the of the Cleveland Municipal Stadium makes the design of the tag, paying homage to the city by forming a C and the original of the Dog Pound with the highlighted East Zone end zone. So basically, it's like the outline of the municipal stadium, but cut in half.
Right. It's just dumb. I'm sorry. We're just talking. We're so like, this is so Cleveland Browns. Like, I mean,
I'll tell you what this is, John. We have 6 weeks until actual news. And
I mean, I'm looking at
this
it like
what we have.
If you're watching us, like, I'm like scooting up here trying to read what you're like, and really seeing all these details. This is like too much, man.
So
we're talking about
football.
We're talking about a dog that's going to be drooling and all this stuff. I mean, it's the kind of dog that, it drools. It's
based on the
dog
iconic
drool.
Rainfall.
Yeah, where's that? Yeah, where's the dog drool?
In April, that brings May flowers. All right, the football. The nose of the dog is in the shape of a football, just as the Dog Pound. The mascot has a nose for the game.
The nose it's a shape of a football?
The nose, that white part of the nose is supposed to be in the shape of a football.
How the hell is that?
I don't know. I'm not saying. But then the piece de resistance, the thing that makes it all worthwhile, right, is this thing they call Ohio. The highlight of the top left corner of the mighty Bull Mastiff's right ear is the shape of Ohio.
That's not Ohio.
Called home for 75 years. That in no way, shape, or form looks like the state of Ohio. Now, I've read some comments, and apparently if you take this thing and put it on your phone and twist it or turn it or something, it looks more like Ohio. I've tried it. I still don't see it. I still don't see it. To me, it just looks like the same thing, but just harder to see when you twist your phone to the left. So
I
there
see.
it is.
I'm reading some of your comments too. On the side.
We'll get to the comments. We'll get to the comments.
I'm having more interest in that. That is just crazy.
We'll get to the comments. All right. Trust me, we're going there. So the winner of the dog logo, right? There were 5 of these logos out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going to have all the fans vote. And so they set up this situation. They put them out there. The fans voted. Then they narrowed it down to like 4, then 3, or is it just 3, then 2, then to 1?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that the fans voted on to say, this is the one we want.
How many fans voted? Like 2?
I don't know. I don't know how many fans voted on the dog logo. Okay. But I want to give Cleveland Browns, the team, credit. We have entered into this 6 weeks of death, is what I call it. The 6 weeks of no Browns news, no Browns camp, no nothing. This is just the time that you're hoping that people don't get arrested and ruin your season. So as you pray at night that Browns players don't get arrested, they're not going to Vegas dressing up as Billy football or whatever. You're just trying to get them through 6 weeks. You're like this bizarre ritual of, can these grown men stay out of jail for 6 weeks? And you get like the little countdown and stuff. All right. So there's no news, there's no nothing. But credit to the Cleveland Browns for keeping things interesting by like saying, hey, let's go out, let's have a competition, let's keep fans engaged, let's make this happen. So now let's ask the question, what are Browns fans saying about the Dawg logo? So let's take a look here. Comment number 1, if I can get my thing to work here. Comment number 1.
There we go. It's
comes from, if I can click on this and make it bigger, maybe not. I'll just have to read it to you. It comes from Johnny, Ohio. And he says, sorry, but what a missed opportunity. Just because it has Easter eggs doesn't make it pleasing to the eye. I wish you'd just do an outsider, like off the street kind of take. Ask people, does this look good? And I already know what the responses are going to be. All right. So he's not real impressed. He thinks if you just go out on the street and you ask people about here, by the way, here's, if those of you are looking, this is the thing without all the descriptions of like, this thing's Ohio and this is,
wait, I see this stadium. I see the stadium. Wait,
this thing's a stadium. There's all the other things. Okay. Let's go to another one. Let's just stop that one. Killing me, Smalls. Let's find another. We already talked to football guy, Johnny, Ohio, right?
Yes.
We've already talked to that one. Let's look at this guy. So this was this guy say. This guy says garbage. So he's channeling his inner Pac-Man Jones to let us know that the Dawg logo is garbage. Maybe it's hanging around with Terrell Pryor somewhere.
And he got what, 48,000 views for that?
48.1 thousand views.
Who is this Ethan Kowalski?
Oh, he's a Guardians, Browns, and Cavs fans from West Allis, Wisconsin. All right,
there you go. Okay.
Good for him.
Nice job, garbage, Ethan. Okay.
It's garbage. I just, the whole Terrell Pryor is garbage thing. You don't know about my love affair for Pac-Man Jones. Pac-Man Jones can do no wrong for me. I think he is. I've written the same article like 3 times for Dog Pound Daily about how the Browns should sign Pac-Man Jones. If Pac-Man Jones would come out of retirement, my first article would be the Browns need to sign Pac-Man Jones. Pac-Man Jones, man, it's some brave stuff.
Is he still in the league?
Oh no, he's long gone.
Okay.
So here's Jason Poland. Not impressed.
Wow.
Jason Poland. Let's see who Jason Poland is.
Now, Jason Poland only got 466 views. And
that's okay. He should have said garbage. Or he could have said
garbage.
Not garbage. He could have said not garbage. He could have gotten more. Well, let's look who he is. All right. So you ready for this? He is at Walkoff 16U. Baseball coach and obsessive fan of Browns, at Ohio State football, at Ohio State hoops, at Tigers, and at Waffle House.
Ooh, they're at Waffle House. They're go-to right there. Isn't there a new song called Waffle House? I think some groups got Waffle House. Oh, okay.
So I'm looking at all these things. I don't think I have any more. I think this is it. So
that was enough. That was enough.
And I realized something. That the Cleveland Browns fans are just like my ex-wife. Because you could give them everything they want, the way they want it, and the way they've asked for it, and they still complain. Be like, hey, hey, Joel, I need this. Okay, how do you want it? I want it like this. I want it like this. Like, you do exactly what they want, and they're still upset. I could give my ex-wife $1 million, and she's going to be mad about the way I gave it to her. You what? You gave me this in hundreds? How am I supposed to hit hundreds? I don't know. You break it down. I don't know what you're going to do with it. This is what I'm talking about.
At least this isn't your current wife. This is good news.
This is why they're called ex-wives.
Yes.
Ex-wives.
Yes.
And Browns fans are kind of like my ex-wife. They just want to be like, oh, I don't like this. I voted for this, but I don't like it. I mean, what are the Browns supposed to do? They come out, they give you options, right? And they say, hey, tell us what you think. And then they vote on it. and you vote. I mean, I voted on these things. The ones I wanted didn't win, but I voted.
Oh,
Right? It was just something to be a part of. But like, oh, this is garbage. I'm not impressed. Let's go to Waffle House. You know, I don't like. The Browns can't win for anything. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, no, I agree. I mean, it's cool that the Browns are doing some things to preoccupy our minds for the next 4 or 5 weeks. When do they go to Greenbrier? I was trying to look that up recently. I think they head there like
6
a week.
weeks.
Is it 6 weeks still?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be like 5 after this week, but they had they had their mini camp early,
right?
Because they're gonna go.
They play in that Hall of Fame game, right? Isn't it like
they're gonna play in the Hall of Fame game. I think it'll be good for them to get that extra practice with all the new coaches and stuff.
Hey, speaking of, I just wanted to let you know, I was looking this up too. You know how we're killing time, and how you were saying how the players, at least they're not going to Vegas. Did you see? I just wanted to confirm this, but Watson, our quarterback, he didn't go to Vegas. You know where he went? Did you see this?
Where'd he go?
He's in Turkey. He went to the Champion League or Premier League game with his girlfriend or wife or whoever he was
Good for him.
He went to Turkey.
Just don't get arrested.
Right.
And just be careful. I mean, you get arrested in Turkey, I don't know if you're ever coming back, man.
Well, that's what I'm a little concerned. The guys are, crossing half the world to go to a Premier soccer game. But as long as he's back in Greenbrier, he could really take advantage of those massages.
Oh
sorry,
my gosh.
Sorry.
Gosh. Come on, man. All right. Speaking of garbage, let's talk about Perrion Winfrey.
Ooh.
So
there's a hot topic.
Perrion Winfrey, you might recall, back in, I think it was April, I believe, got arrested for willingly, intentionally, and knowingly causing bodily harm to his girlfriend. Apparently, he grabbed her in some sort of way. Well, apparently last Friday, his charges were officially dropped due to him completing a diversion program on domestic violence. So for all of you who are wondering, here's the kickoff to the 6 weeks of no news. We're already starting the first day with people's legal issues right off the bat. So at least this one's good news. Perrion Winfrey, you got out of jail free this time. Although I don't think that was free.
The buildup on him too. I had a podcast or two back when they drafted him, talked to a group of guys from Oklahoma, Sooners fans, and they talked a little bit about Winfrey's background and suggested that some of these things
might be coming.
Yes. And, we were all engaged. I was super excited. I know Randy Gurzy, my boss, and I got into this. We debated about.
See, why do you hate Randy?
Right.
Here we go.
Randy probably hates me because I haven't been producing as many articles for Dog Pound Daily of late, and I feel like I've left him out there, to fend for himself. But I started an article 3 nights ago, and I'm still not done. So I'm feeling a little guilty. So
nobody likes a quitter.
Yeah,
nobody likes a quitter.
But remember when Winfrey came out, man? He was barking and he was doing all that fun stuff, and we were like, "Oh man, this is awesome!" Like this guy's gonna tear it up in the league. But
no,
hasn't happened yet. And now
wasn't he a 4th round pick?
Yes.
Okay, so man, he should have some modicum, but he's not going to be like the superstar.
Well, his other fellow teammate was Thomas.
Isaiah Thomas.
Mm-hmm. And do you think he makes the team this year? Do you think they'll keep?
I don't know. I mean, both of them came from this defensive style where you just like rush up field as fast as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't going to be what's going to happen now with Jim Schwartz. He's going to want you to fire in, use some technique, play some smart football.
So Schwartz isn't going to be really like blitzing as much. Like I've been.
Well, I think I think he'll blitz, but the style when you're going to start doing a read and react defense, those are more of your bend but not break defenses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he wants to augment that by get up field and attack. Mm-hmm. But those defenses are kind of like when I played this in high school, I played in one in college, and I've coached these things. The idea is just to kind of like force a team to go down the field very methodically by not giving up big plays.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can just put yourself in position to make a play at the line of scrimmage or a yard down the field, you're asking the offense to be very
what we're hoping
methodical and on tune. So go ahead.
No, you're hoping then for the Schwartz is hoping that they bend, they don't break, meaning that we'll give up field goals. The goal is to limit.
Well, the goal is to force an offense to not make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to be efficient to the point where you're not making a mistake, not getting a penalty.
Right.
You don't want to give up the big plays because the big plays are what gives up points. So almost every drive in the NFL, when there's points, there's a big play, or you start in the opponent's territory. So if you don't give up the big plays and you make someone get 5 dink and dunk, 5, 10, 15, 5, 7, 10 yards of play, you're going to force them to run like 10, 15 plays. Well, in that time frame, the chances of you making a penalty and shooting yourself in the foot is pretty high.
Right. Not that this has anything to do with it kind of has something to do a little bit with what you said. NFL Network had the old Cleveland Browns versus Pittsburgh Steelers playoff game from 2002, 2003. Mm-hmm. It was January. And not to bring back a bad memory for us Browns fans, but we really were dominating that game. And we were actually up in 24-7 with the ball in Pittsburgh territory. And you talk about how offensive teams, you want to force them into making a mistake. Kelly Holcomb was having a great game. It was a snowy day, miserable conditions. He made a mistake where he didn't see the linebacker who was able to pick him off. And legitimately, the Browns probably would have gone up 27-7 at the very least. But that moment, it was halfway through the third quarter, that started kind of that shift to what then Cleveland couldn't hold on in the end. But that's an example, I think, of where, you want to, the Browns are really doing a good job in that game, but they made a mistake.
Yeah. And you want to force the opponents to make those mistakes and then get momentum back on your side and that kind of thing. So, well, we gotta pay the bills. I got this boss. He's a taskmaster. And he says, look, you got to make sure you have a break in your podcast. And then when I make these podcasts, he's always texting me like, where's your break at? So we're going to, at 22 minutes now, take our station break. All right. So on the other side of the break, we'll get into Ravens hate, and we're going to get into the NFL owners. All right. Hang on. And we're back. So, John, do you like the Ravens?
Hell no.
All right, good. So we're on the same page. So I'm not a big Ravens fan. I pretty much just hate the Ravens.
I enjoy this segment of I enjoy this segment so much of this show. This is what I live for every week when I listen to your show, is this Ravens hate segment. So I'm glad that I'm part of this episode.
Oh, great. So, it's going to get harder and harder and harder to do these Raven hate, despite what everyone thinks of Lamar Jackson's balls. It's going to get harder and harder to continue doing the Ravens thing when there's no Ravens news. But I did spy the other day a picture of Odell Beckham Jr. heading into camp. So I want to show this. And for those of you watching at home, there it is. Odell Beckham Jr. coming into camp. And for those of you who can't see it, this is a picture of Sheila Boaks with a bag over his head that says, I am not famous anymore. The problem is Odell Beckham Jr. is famous. So the bag should really just says, I am not good at football anymore. And I think it'd be accurate. I don't understand why he's famous. I don't understand why people give a crap. I don't understand. The dude can't play wide receiver, but he hasn't played in a year. He hasn't been good in like 5 years, but he's still famous. He just sucks. So at any rate, I'll take that off the screen for some of you. No, I'll just leave that there for right now.
Oh, yeah.
Odell Beckham trotting into camp. And as he trots into camp, he's got a whole bunch of things to say. So apparently OBJ feels good at minicamp. So here's my first question. Who doesn't feel good at minicamp? I mean, this is not news. This is the time of the year where you come to minicamp and you're actually healthy. You should be feeling good and healthy. But here's a famous quote, or a good quote, that Mr. John pointed out to me. Odell Beckham Jr. says, and I quote, I feel good. It feels good to get out of bed and not feel pain. I feel like if I need to take off running right now, I could take off running. Those words are not inspiring confidence in me. This is your wide receiver, and the best thing he can say about himself in camp is that it feels good to get out of bed, and if I want to run, I can actually run.
Amazing.
You'd hope if you were a Ravens fan, for me, I think this is comical, but if you were a Ravens fan, you would hope that your star receiver, the guy that like is supposed to be, I saw some article where somebody was ranking the best new wide receiver quarterback duos, and Lamar Jackson and OBJ were supposed to be the second best new quarterback wide receiver duo.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was like, how do you say that? The guy hasn't played in a year.
Well,
and the last time we saw him,
yeah,
he was the number 2.
Well, and the coach of the Ravens, we spoke about this off air, but he's predicting that this could be the Ravens' best wide receiver core ever. I know you talked about how they've drafted or they've signed 5 former first round draft picks.
Yeah, I actually got into an argument with somebody on Twitter over this. They're trying to tell me
classic.
That like they have 5 first round wide receivers in that room, and all of them are garbage.
Well, but Jim Harbaugh,
except for the one that's just got drafted, Zay Flowers. We don't know about him yet, but like Nelson Aguilar has been with a bunch of teams. Who was the guy that just signed? He got drafted in Minnesota. Oh, he was terrible. Big, tall guy and slow.
Bateman.
No, that's not Bateman.
No,
that's University of Minnesota. I was talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Laquan Treadwell.
Oh, yes.
Can't get separation, can't get any speed, doesn't run routes for crap, but he's like this great guy they just brought in. I'm over it. Like this is like the biggest hype job that you can get.
Well, and the best part is so he was quoted, the coach was Harbaugh saying, "This group might be the best wide receiver core. It's up to them, but I'm very excited about them. The group will be led by 30-year-old Odell Beckham Jr." Like, okay.
There we go. Well, wouldn't there a report that OBJ is trying to get DeAndre Hopkins to come to Baltimore?
Yes.
So if you have 5 first-round picks, you get this great situation, although they still have to prove themselves, according to The Athletic, and they still have to actually play games. But if you got all these drafted, why do you need DeAndre Hopkins? And how are they going to pay DeAndre Hopkins? They won't pay Lamar Jackson, but they'll pay OBJ $15 million guaranteed. And do you think DeAndre Hopkins is going to go for less than that? I mean, he might because he has to, but do you think he wants to?
I just wonder. I mean, Hopkins is, like you talked about this last time, he's in no hurry to sign.
Right.
He can sit there, kind of monitor the various teams. He's wanting that big money, and he could wait.
Yep.
He could even wait until the season starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could sit out a whole season if he wanted. He get paid $15 million next year, and everybody think he's great because he sat out a whole season.
Gosh.
And if he wanted to get an injury, that would only help him, his mystique, his aura of how great he is, be even that much more. Go out and get hurt, and somehow you'll be better after you got through your injury than before you got injured.
Mm-hmm.
The life of Odell. I am not good at football anymore. So let's move on to the Ravens.
The other highlight for OBJ recently was that he was the start your engines. No, I'm sorry. Mount your horses.
Something like that.
For the Preakness back about 3 weeks ago.
I was trying to figure that one out.
Yes.
That's where I got the whole I'm not famous
Jockeys
anymore.
to your horses or something.
Riders up or some.
Riders up. Thing. That's right. Riders up.
This is where I got the whole like I'm not famous anymore thing. Like, how is this guy famous? Like, to do that at like a horse.
You said he caught one pass back in 2000. Was that 16 that he caught that pass over his head?
In a game they lost.
Yes.
In a game they lost. And like that's been his whole career. I just, what's he done since? Somebody will be a smart aleck and respond, but
what the hell was that all about?
Yeah, what the hell? Why is this guy still famous? I don't even understand. Like, I want to go out and do something and live off that for the rest of my life. Keep getting contracts. Hey, look, I caught a ball 8 years ago, so I think you should let me have I'm gonna stop sharing here. Though I'm getting notices to stop sharing my screen.
Oh,
I caught a ball 8 years ago. Give me $15 million, and the people pay him. People pay him. So, good for the Ravens.
We're just jealous, Joel. We're just jealous.
All right, whatever. Speaking of people paying ridiculous amount of money for things, it's time for our ownership.
Oh, wait. I gotta say, this is my favorite segment.
Okay, now we're into his favorite segment. All right, let's play it.
We are the Borg. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
That's right. Resistance is futile. So, one of the reasons I wanted to have John on was that he was having the little get together with the Fanatical Elves podcast, which I couldn't make last week, and they were talking about gambling, and people were kind of getting pretty upset about they should just not bet on football. Why do people? It's not that hard. Don't bet on football. Blah blah blah. Well, I just want to again set the record straight. The situation here is these owners are heavily financially invested in all these gambling apps. They bring these gambling apps in. They set up places in the stadium for these things to happen. They bombard you. I mean, I can't watch the Guardians on TV without watching 15 ads for sports gambling. And it's going to be bad when the Browns are on because the NFL owners own all these things. So they're pumping this and pumping this and pumping this. Like it is like mass marketing, like a tutorial in math. It's like 1984 out there, right? You've got all these screens everywhere telling you to gamble. Okay. So then the players, they're people too. They see this nonstop. So they decide to gamble. And then the owners, because they own all these apps, know exactly who's doing it, when they're doing it, why they're doing it, how they're doing it. Again, this sounds really like 1984. It really does, right? By the way, I'm referring to George Orwell's book, 1984, about domination, control, about society just being brutally oppressed. Okay. I think that actually fits here with the board. So you got this 1984 kind of atmosphere with people being advertised to. We'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll give you these, we'll give you those. I was reading this article on The Athletic where the article itself had five advertisements to join their gambling ring, basically. So I want to point out like the suspensions that have gone on here. There have been some suspensions for people gambling on football. So that is a legitimate thing. Okay. There are people being like Calvin Ridley placed a bet that the Falcons would win a game while he was on injured reserve at home. You've got players on the Colts, I believe it's the Colts, that have been placing bets on the Colts to win football games, I believe, and they're being suspended indefinitely. There are some players who are placing bets on golf and other sports, but because they're doing it on company property, they're being suspended for 6 games. So I don't think it's as easy as just don't bet on football, it's over with. I think there's a lot of propaganda. There's a lot of push. There's a lot of bet. We're going to put it in the stadium. We're going to put it in your face. We're going to put it around you all the time to the point where you're just brainwashed into, I need to bet. And then when they do it, they suspend them for it and then keep their paychecks. It's just ridiculous. That's my take. But John, I want to give you a chance to give your take on some of this.
Well, my take is very similar to your take. And I think it's double standards. I think it's hypocrisy. I think it's just everything that you say about it. The more I listen to your show and listen to your takes about the Borg, the more it makes so much sense. And the more you talk about things like the book 1984, it really is.
It is. Stunning. It's like 1984 out there.
It really is stunning. But it's a way for the owners and these NFL teams and the NFL itself to control everything. And while, some of our buddies have said the players should not be betting, it's so inundated right now. And like you said, they're adding it to where we'll go to Cleveland Brown Stadium and they want you to bet. What are we, the minute we get out of the stadium until this point, I mean, you go down the street, down East 3rd or 9th Street, and you go into the casino, Bally's Casino. I mean, so there's constant overlap. And this is a history lesson. I mean, you could probably talk about this endlessly about over time and gambling and sports and leadership and politics and how it's all been mixed around for centuries. So this isn't really anything new, the concept, but now what they're doing with the gambling and how addictive it's become. I mean, when I got the apps, this, I mean, it came to Ohio in January. Oh my God. Like before January rolled around, we were being thrown bazillions of emails. And then when you sign up, then you're given all this free money and free opportunity. And I took, some opportunities and did some things, and because it was considered free, money, and that's how they get you, and they bring you back.
Suck you in. It's like drugs, man. Like
it really
at first it's fun, and then you're like addicted to it, and then you just can't stop, and you keep pouring your money into it.
I just think
this is like Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft are like the pimps. They're like gambling pimps.
Totally.
Right?
And I just
pumps. They're like the drug lords. They're the gambling drug lords.
I just it's interesting the variety of takes on this, but the idea that some people just say, well, you just shouldn't gamble on sports. It's just so you can't expect that. It's like, we all have cell phones and now, and you're not like, well, kids in school, like I'm an educator, so
cell phones,
we expect kids not to use cell phones, but that's highly, you can't do that because they're inundated everywhere. Anyway, I think as far as the gambling's concerned, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to get better. They may have to. I'll be interested to see what the NFL does, like with your Borg segment, because these are some things that I'm sure that they are aware of, the league, the owners, and they will continue to manipulate. And it's very interesting. Your take on this, I think you're spot on, and we'll see what happens next. But I'm glad that you're taking the time to really research it and understand it and try to get that out to other people, because it can be overlooked and like, oh, we're just having fun or this or that. But these players that are getting hooked into it, are, we'll see who gets suspended next and for what. So, yeah,
I think it's not the same. We do not live in the same world as we used to live in, say, even 20 years ago. The cell phone, and particularly the smartphone, has really changed the way we interact with our world. No longer do you have to walk in front of a screen to find an advertisement. That advertisement's right in your hand.
Yes.
And like when you get on something like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or something like this, if you're not paying to use the app, then you are the product. Meaning they're tracking you, they're creating an algorithm on you. They're going to find out what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, what you're interested in, what you're looking up, so they can tailor.
They're driving our brains crazy. Yes,
they're tailoring advertisements to you.
I've been on this phone while we've been doing our podcast. I've probably gotten various messages, text messages. I've gotten advertisements from various sources. So, I mean, this is happening all the time. They're trying to distract you. And this is all a big distraction. Why? Because
they want your money.
Right. That if you're distracted, you're not paying attention. You're not focused.
Well, and so now you're going to get into one of my philosophy lectures, and I can't go there. This is why you study philosophy, but I can't go there right here. I got to talk about this other athletic article. So there's a new athletic article out on this, specifically talking about the Colts. All right. And it just reminds me of somebody who just doesn't understand. It's like the Athletic came out and broke taboo, right? They actually wrote an article that talks about what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. So then, like, I'm guessing that the Borg called them up and said, if you want to continue talking about the NFL, you're going to fix this. So they wrote this next article that makes no sense whatsoever. And I want to read you a paragraph out of this. And a couple paragraphs. Some of it makes sense, but not all of it makes sense. Okay. But this is not all that complicated. Here's the quote. Don't bet on NFL games. That's plain English. Then the author continues. I understand this argument that this ranks as the height of hypocrisy. The leagues and their teams are in bed with FanDuels and DraftKings. Not just in bed, people. They own DraftKings and FanDuel. and sports wagering everywhere. You simply can't escape it. So maybe you should ask this question. If it's legal in Indiana, why can't Rogers bet on the NFL? And here's where I'm having the problem with this article. They say, and I quote, "This is about protecting the integrity of the game, far more than potentially egregious than a team using deflated footballs." Now we've got our straw man set up. As it stands, fans often watch games and believe the fix is in. Right. That officials on the take or whatever.
Yep.
The one thing pro sports must protect is the sanctity of fair competition. When NFL players bet on the NFL, it undermines the hard-won assumption that all the games are on the up and up. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know a single person who truly believes that NFL games are on the up and up.
Right.
I haven't met one person who truly, in their core of who they are, truly believes that every single game they watch is actually determined by what the players are doing on the field. Now, I'm not saying this is pro wrestling. We got a script and we got a heel and we've got a this or that. But what we have is right here, the officials. You have to go in there. I mean, how many? I tell you what, when football season starts, there will be an officials hate segment, because that is the other thing I ran about nonstop, is how terrible officials are. Those officials, I swear to you, they are on the take. Somebody is paying officials. Dan Snyder was reportedly to have been bribing officials. It came out in a tweet. And then an article was going to come out and was going to describe it all. Then that article never came out. Okay. Now, was it just made up? Did the NFL come in and say you're not going to report that? I don't know. But I've watched too many football games, been a part of too many football games to see what's happening on Sunday and truly believe there isn't a misthrown flag or a purposely thrown flag on some crap that happens 20,000 times in a game in the exact same scenario that you're not throwing a flag on. And officials can alter the outcome of a game by making it harder or easier for a team to score.
But that's not why the team loses. No, that's always the people will say, well, that's not the reason why the Browns lost. I mean, you can argue about the refs, doing this or that, but it's not really why the Browns lost. I mean, you get into that kind of argument all the time.
That argument is out there because you can say if we'd executed better, the officials would have been inconsequential, and that is absolutely true. Okay, I'm not going to go into like coaching stories, but it's absolutely true. If you can play a perfect game of football, you can overcome rotten officials.
Right.
You can. But rotten officials can make your life hell. Like you can get a first down. They're going to call a stupid penalty that doesn't even look like a penalty.
Right.
And we've all seen it. And they're going to run it back, not only back to the line of scrimmage, but 10 yards behind it and make it harder for you to get a first down. Then you've got a punt and the other team's got the ball. That's how officials intervene in games. But to tell me you're trying to protect the integrity of the game by making sure people aren't gambling on it, that's not how you're protecting the integrity of the game. You're protecting the integrity of the game by getting these officials under control. And they're not real motivated to do that right now. And I don't understand why that's the case. They don't want to have these full-time officials. They don't want to have official seminar. They don't want to really open them up to questions either.
I mean, isn't the NFL though? I mean, we're in a time and period where the NFL is just raking in the money right now. And they know even all these diversions, all these things that we're talking about with refereeing is all kind of helping the brand, right? I mean, it's creating more divisiveness. People are tuning in, right? Isn't this?
Yeah, and you're going to get me on another rant.
This is
so the NFL.
All there. This is We Are the Borg.
You're gonna. This is another We Are the Borg moment. So I'm gonna play this because this is a We Are the Borg moment.
We are the Borg. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
So the NFL is in the live entertainment business.
Yes.
Do you know who else is in the live entertainment business? Pro wrestling. Pro wrestling's in the live entertainment business. They're not in the sports business. They're not in the football business. They're in the live entertainment business. And live entertainment seeks to draw crowds, seeks to draw audiences. And the NFL knows what franchises are bringing in money and what franchises are not bringing in money. What franchises you can get to bring in more money by keeping them down as opposed to letting them go higher. So you can engineer a playoff scenario if you wanted to. if you wanted to. Now, I'm not saying this is an organized task from the NFL headquarters. This may just be what it had been reported as earlier, which is certain owners are paying off officials to get better calls. It may be at that level that this stuff is going on, but it's going on. It's hard to deny it's going on, but it may just be at like this owner's paying officials, that owner's paying officials. But the NFL knows if you got Pittsburgh or Dallas, who are your two like most popular teams in the playoffs, you're going to get better ratings than if you're playing the Chargers, who nobody follows,
right,
and nobody cares about. So if you'd rather have
do you think it carries over to, like, I mean, obviously I think it does. The NBA, for example, the NBA just got stuck with Denver and Miami in the finals.
And who watched it?
No one did. I mean, it was devastating for the NBA. So you wonder how much push. I mean, obviously they're pushing for those same scenarios for the better teams, but this last
not
season,
the better teams, the more popular teams.
Yes,
the teams with the biggest fan bases.
Right. Yes. I mean, Denver, you don't consider the Denver Nuggets as a basketball town.
Right. But if the Lakers were in the finals,
oh, yeah,
people are going to be paying attention.
Yes.
If LeBron James is in the finals, people are going to be paying attention.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of what goes into some of this stuff. But the NFL could legally fix these games and there'd be no legal repercussions because their business is live entertainment. Okay, it's not sporting athletic events, it's live entertainment. But I'm going to sound like a crazy kook today, so I need to stop this before I go off the deep end on all this. But, you know, if you want to protect the integrity of the game, I'm not worried about NFL players betting on their team to win. Should they do it? No. Don't go out there Pete Rose yourself. Don't go out there betting on your team. Stop that stuff. But you don't get fines. You don't get warnings. You're just like immediately thrown to the curb. This is crazy stuff, man. That you bombard to the point where you can't think straight without thinking I got to place a bet. And then once you do it, you're suspended and you lose more money on your suspension than you did if you.
It really is.
Making
it
a
really
bet.
is. It's so screwed up. I mean, it really. You're talking about, you know, if you're force feeding the general population in stadiums now and trying to get them to, you know, because they're already drunk, they're already drinking heavily, and they're going to go spend more money. And the NFL, the owners, they know this, and they're just inundating all of us with it. And yet we turn around and we put these other players, we throw the book at them, and it's just nuts.
Yeah. I just wonder on the level of advertising, if more advertising dollars is spent either A, in a dictatorship to put the dictator's face all over the place to, you know, show the level of oppression that must go on, or B, gambling apps in the United States. And I'm telling you, there's probably more money and more exposure for gambling in the United States than there is for dictatorships trying to control their countries. And a lot of the propaganda is how you control your population in a dictatorship. I know, because I'm a dictator. No, I'm not a dictator. That's just my nickname from college. The dictator is my nickname.
Oh, there you go. It comes out. I like it.
Yeah, that's why if you ever see me on
We Are the Borg. That is the left guard, Joel Cade.
I'm not the Borg. I'm just a dictator out there. Petty little drug lord dictator. Now, that was my nickname in college. That's why I have Fidel Castro as my picture on Facebook.
Now it all makes sense.
Yes, I'm the dictator. But all right, well, look, we've had fun today, but I can't go on sounding like a madman forever. So, John, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you check out John's show, the Johnny Cleveland Show. Check out Football, Philosophy, and Rocket Science, where Elliot and I will disagree on pretty much everything we bring up. And make sure you check out the Fanatic Love Show on Thursday, where sometimes I make an appearance and sometimes I don't. Then we've got Rod Bloom's show, right? That was Browns Blitz.
Yep.
Just had their 200th episode, I hear.
He did.
So good for them. Tune in, find out. The more you tune in, the more you find out.
Thank you for listening to the What the Elf Was That podcast. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends to give a listen. You can follow host Joel Cade on Twitter at The Left Guard.
Yeah, keep listening, because where else are you going to